Hello, everyone, and welcome to Honey Badger Radio. My name is Brian. I'm here with Allison, and this is what do we call this again? Red Pill Dating? No, the
The
dating
dating
show.
show?
Yeah, the
Yes.
dating show. Yeah.
But let's not instigate existential angst in our audience. The dating show. I've been
Yeah.
told that it makes people nervous. They're like, You don't know what you're doing? I don't know what I'm doing. What are we doing? What are we doing? What is the world doing? What is civilization doing? I don't
Didn't
know.
you
It's
just say you don't want to introduce these kinds of feelings?
yeah, we just don't. Oh, I guess I am creating those kinds of feelings.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
apologize.
All
All
right,
right.
so
Do you want me to
we,
do my thing?
yeah, go ahead and do your thing. We're going to be talking about an article. It's going to be fun. Okay, Allison, go ahead.
Oh yeah, it's about red flags, and being high maintenance is apparently, well, women are trying to show that they're not high maintenance, because they feel like that creates a red flag, and that's of course misogyny. That women feel like they have to appeal to men at all. So if you enjoy, or if you actually want to send us a message, please go to feedthebadger.com/just the tip, and you can send us a message that won't be seen either by the gimlet eye of PayPal or the censorious eye of YouTube. And we will endeavor to read your messages thus sent. And you can also send us a tip if you want after the show is over. If you particularly like this content, and you want to be like, yeah, I'd like to see more of that. And it sort of helps us figure out which type of content you appreciate most too. So send those super chows is what we call them to just feedthebadger.com/just the tip. That is feedthebadger.com/just the tip. All right, Brian, let's
All right. So
let's
we're
do it.
looking at, yeah, let's just do it. This is from a website called theconversation.com. Academic
Is it
rigor,
though?
journalistic flair is how they describe it. What was
Is it a
that?
conversation though? I mean, because usually you have to have one side. I got sucked into believing that, feminists, because it usually is feminists that talk about how women shouldn't be held to any kind of standard.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I got sucked in by a bunch of feminists saying, "Yeah, why can't we have a conversation?" And then I attempted to have a conversation with them, and they got me booted
Yeah.
from from the place that I attempted to have that conversation with them in. So I think that this is a lie.
I wanna, I
Or
go
they're
out on
using
a
the term
limb and
conversation.
say I'm a little
Skeptical?
skeptical of the idea that this is a conversation, but it's not a conversation. It is the conversation, and you have to just passively absorb whatever they're saying because obviously they know what they're
Yeah,
talking
that's a
about.
conversation.
That's
Conversations only have
yes,
one side, folks.
yeah,
Everything else is harassment.
yep, exactly. So, all right, so this is from a website called The Conversation, and the title of it is "High Maintenance is a Red Flag on Dating Apps. Women are still expected to shrink themselves." So, of course,
Uh,
yeah,
what
go
the,
ahead.
like, right in the headline. Women are still expected to appeal to men in some ways when they want to have sex with them. Sorry, there's an assumption here that eh, men, like, let's return it around. Men are still expected to appeal to women when they want to have sex with women. They don't have to appeal to women at all when they want to have sex with them. How dare women have any kind of standard or expectation or any wants? They should
Yep,
just feel like a man should just walk up to a woman, tap her on the shoulder, and say, "Hey, my dick, your vagina now," and that's it.
let's do
Like,
it.
what is this? Like, the idea is
I own several
ridiculous.
leather-bound books.
I own several.
it's
This
it's
is
called
ridiculous.
it's called
This is
Sex Panther. 60% of the time, it works every time. Um,
Okay, but here's the thing. This is ridiculous on its face. If you want a relationship with men, get this. You got to appeal to them. And yet this is another article that's like, why should women do anything to appeal to men? Well, then just, if you don't want to appeal to men, how about this? You got your cats, you got your mega pint of wine, you got your condo with just yourself in it, and you got your high calorie carb, whatever you want to eat, go and enjoy yourself on your own. Just enjoy your own company, because it's absolutely it's wrong. It's just flat out wrong for women to go into the dating sphere wanting to date men, and then their first thought is, why should I have to appeal to them at all before I get access to men's sexuality? Why should I? Like, that's their first freaking thought? Like, no.
Yeah.
If you want them, you have to appeal to them. Why is this like misogyny to say? If you don't want, if you don't want to have to appeal to them, go find yourself another scoop on the spectrum of gender.
Yep.
It's as simple as that. Or just enjoy your life with your cats. I mean, that's fine too.
Feel free. All right. So let's see. Oh, so I just want to play a little soundbite. Speaking of men just simply expecting women to have sex with them, because I think it's funny.
Yes, what is it, Brick?
I would like to extend to you an invitation to the pants party.
Excuse me?
The party. The pants with the pants. Party with pants.
Brick, are you saying that there's a party in your pants and that I'm invited?
That's it.
Okay.
Oh my God. All right. Yeah, but Brian, why should women, like, if we reverse that, why should women even have to invite men? Like, why should women make any effort whatsoever before men deliver up the goods? Like, really? I mean, that's obviously misogyny. All right.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's do the article. I do have a super chat, but maybe, well, we'll just do it now because it's really. Albatross gives us $2 and says, "Happy Friday the 13th," which it is Friday the 13th, and that's cool. And I guess this Sunday there's gonna be a blood moon, so hell of a weekend, guys. So, all right, so let's get into this article. Speaking of blood moons, the term. So this is by Lisa Portolan, a PhD student for the Institute for Culture and Society, Western Sydney University. The term high maintenance is part of everyday speech and usually refers to a woman who places a high value on her personal image, wants, or needs. Often uttered. No, go ahead. What were you? That's not what it is. Okay.
No. It refers to a woman who places a higher value on her personal image, wants, or needs over other people in her life. So, and often to the exclusion of the wants and needs of other people in her life. You are all right here. What do you have a real PhD in? Like dissembling? Like making haze artistry? Like turning a concrete or a concept that has one meaning and then asserting that it has another meaning that's more useful to your argument? Because once you realize what people mean by high maintenance isn't a woman who's like has boundaries, but a woman who doesn't let anyone else in her life have boundaries, then you know that Lisa Portolan is full of the end products of heels, shall we say?
She's probably high maintenance. And another thing about high maintenance is that it's everyone else that has to fix her problems or help her with her hang-ups or her wants or her image. That's because that's the maintenance part, right? It means you have to do the work to make sure she remains comfortable, basically.
Yes. Yeah, that's and really a lot of these women should be referred to as impossible maintenance because men can't fix them.
Well,
it's just impossible.
It's true, and a lot of women don't know what they need. So they just say,
yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, they need a recognition of the consequences of their own actions, which, good luck getting that in this society. But, but right off the bat, she is full of, like, she's just lying about what people are actually saying when they mean high maintenance.
Yep.
It's just like, yeah, I'm going to lie now because the lie, or I'm going to misrepresent this term because the misrepresentation suits me more than the reality, which incidentally is sort of a high maintenance trait. So yeah, good on you for Brian for just calling that one out.
It's also a lot of cope.
Yeah.
But
All right.
okay. So often uttered within the context of dating, the implication is that the woman in question is too much hard work. An easier, more relatable mate would be preferred.
Okay. Well,
oh, go ahead.
What high work? Doesn't that presume that the man is doing work in the relationship?
It does. Even if it's and they're talking about dating apps, so we're not even talking about, like a relationship yet. Potentially it's just
we're just talking basically hookup. So
yeah, or dating at least.
So men who are like, this woman looks like too much work. Maybe I'll get a woman who appears to be less work or pulls her own weight. Now that's verboten. Okay, but I'm curious the logic behind it now. So.
Okay. So, rarely, if ever, do we come across the term high maintenance man. And that's supposed to be a double standard. Maybe because even if there was a man who felt like, the need to make other people make him feel comfortable and he has a high standard on his personal image, wants, or needs, we, generally find that laughable. That's probably why you don't really see it. So, but okay. So yeah, you don't hear about high maintenance men. Yeah, there probably aren't many, first off. Secondly, if there are, they're not very successful with women because women don't want to deal with that. And we find that that's okay. So
it's the thought experiment that I use. I ask men to think about the worst job they've ever had. Okay? And usually it's something like roofing in July or doing landscaping or some kind of labor job or something that was extremely difficult.
Yeah.
And most likely boring and possibly dangerous. And almost all men have a worst job. It's really difficult to square that with men being high maintenance. If you think about it, because those kinds of jobs sort of, they filter out, I guess, the men who need to do 3-hour pedicures and frosted tips and expensive clothing and want everybody else to make them feel better about their lives.
Yeah.
It's a really, I guess there are men like that, but I think there's a really small percentage. And the reason why is because of that thought experiment. What is the worst job you've had as a man? I mean, if you're listening to this after the show is over, consider putting that in a comment. And the fact is that most men have a worse job, and that worst job tends to knock off the high maintenance aspects or the expectation that other people take care of them.
Yeah.
So it's hard for a guy who does roofing in July to be like, somebody else is responsible for my comfort.
Yeah, or if they're a cop or a soldier, first responder of some kind.
But even beyond that, every guy has a job.
Mm-hmm.
In my experience, has a job that was backbreaking, physically destructive, boring, difficult, painful, and uncomfortable. And it's hard to maintain that idea that the world should be constructed for your comfort, thus you are a high-maintenance person, after having a job like that. I'm guessing Lisa Portolan has never had a job like that.
No. Doubt it. I mean, she's a student.
Never had a job outside of or even, I remember never had a job outside of air conditioning. Really?
Oh, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let's go back. Rarely do we come across a term high maintenance man. On dating apps, users make split-second decisions relying on profile pictures to guide them. In my research into dating apps and heterosexual matches, I found men sought to portray themselves as handsome, muscular, tanned even, in their profile shots to attract more matches. Conversely, women sought to portray themselves against a cultural idea. Women looked to develop profiles which conveyed them as, quote, not high maintenance, end quote. So men, she's setting the stage here and saying that men, when they make their profiles, they're setting up a type where, they portray themselves as handsome, muscular, and tanned. Although I have to ask, I wonder how many of the matches that she was looking at to write this, how many of the men were so beneath her standards that she didn't even pay attention to them? Because I don't think that is what were you going to say? Yeah, because like if you're scrolling and because I know that on dating apps there are plenty of guys who are, you know, overweight, they're pale, they're out of shape, or whatever, but they're just looking to meet someone. You know, they're not like necessarily, you know, trying to just get laid. And so if you're
portray themselves, so that likely these men were handsome, muscular, and tanned. I would imagine.
Yes.
Yeah, like it's. I mean, I guess you could suck your stomach in, or put
Well, I'm sure they do.
Or
or you pull down on your suit so it makes that V shape.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's some tricks, but why is it that what men seek to look at, like, is not also a consideration? Like, why should men have to look good in order to appeal to women? I mean, if women don't have to, quote unquote, look low maintenance in order to appeal to men. The other thing is that how much of this is, again, a lot of women going after a very small number of men? You know, like, how much of it is that? And the only men that really get noticed are the ones that present very well visually. And they have tons and tons of opportunities. Like, if you're in that top 10%, you're looking at like 90% of women. And you're not going to tolerate anyone who expects any kind of maintenance, much less high maintenance. Why would you?
Yep.
And honestly, that's just the landscape that you got. And it is the landscape that women basically selected for.
Yeah.
So...
Well, also she is also cherry picking here, I think, because most women do whatever they can to maximize their visual appeal as well.
Yes.
You know, they use filters, they Photoshop their images, they take pictures in a group setting, so you can't tell which chick is the one that you're actually like looking at the profile of. There's all kinds of tricks. It's camera angles. Actually, women are probably better at this than men, to be honest. And so she's cherry picking the I'm not high maintenance as a selling point, because men, you know, they're usually just looking at the physical. So you're doing there is some really like obvious sleight of hand going on. The other thing is, I think what she's trying to imply is the idea that women would have to say that they're not high maintenance is supposed to suggest something about how misogynistic our society is, as opposed to say, oh, I don't know, maybe a lot of women on dating sites are in fact high maintenance. Maybe that's why they're on dating sites. Maybe, you know, like, or because like if it's a single mom who basically like has 3 kids and she still feels like she can go clubbing and like all that, men should know, and that is a high maintenance situation you're entering as a man. I mean, because you're going to be expected, right, to do things. So,
yes, you might be expected to be the parent that she isn't willing to be. And then also they'll put you on the hook for child support. So, you know, be careful with that.
Yeah, don't get involved with that.
No, it's not worth it. All right, let's continue on. What does this mean? What does high maintenance mean on dating? All right.
Hopefully we'll get to this.
So
what does we're here. What does high maintenance mean on dating apps? High maintenance was a slippery and yet sticky category defined by physical and behavioral characteristics. In her profile photos, the high maintenance girl, as she was often described by the men and women in my research, was likely wearing, quote, too much makeup or form-fitting clothes. She would be dressed for a party or going out. She would be pouting at the camera, Instagram style, or toting an expensive handbag. Once tarnished with the high maintenance brush, it was difficult to be perceived as otherwise. So, like, men are looking for red flags on dating apps. So a woman with a really expensive handbag is something that men should take into consideration, because it means that she might have fucking champagne taste, even if she's a Pabst Blue Ribbon girl. And I think that a lot of men are like, well, I don't want to end up with someone who's going to basically just use me for my money. And that is a very fair thing. Now, that doesn't mean that that woman in that picture is going to do that. But I mean, like, if you're on a dating app, you don't have a whole lot of time to, like, you know, inspect under some kind of microscope every single woman, because you know, no one, well, I don't want to say that. I think a lot of people are putting their best foot forward, which on dating sites or dating apps, because they're trying to minimize their shortcomings while they maximize their strengths. So that means that most people know that, like, who you're meeting on a dating app is not really the person that you're going to be on a date with, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're getting their, as Chris Rock used to say, you're getting their representative. You're not getting who they actually are. So, like, yeah, like, men should be aware of red flags. And of course, this woman doesn't think men should have preferences or an opinion on that or anything, which is, I think, the purpose of this article.
Well, alternatively, she realizes that she's really also putting girls who are not, or nor could be high maintenance, sort of shit out of luck, because then they have nothing to offer. If men aren't allowed to say, okay, she has expensive taste, she's too attractive, she looks like she's going to be too much work to maintain, and they're not allowed to differentiate that, then they're also not allowed to prefer girls who don't look like that and can't look like that.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's like, all right, so what you want to do is screw the group of women you're not a part of, because I presume she thinks she's high maintenance, or she resembles a high maintenance woman.
Yeah, she may, or at least, like, has been, let's say she's either felt as though, or she was classified by men as high maintenance in the past. And so it's like a sore spot.
Well, okay, let's read the rest of this, because it's got a really interesting thing that she seems to be missing.
Yeah, so once tarnished with the high maintenance brush, it was difficult to be perceived as otherwise. Behaviorally, she was perceived as difficult. She wanted things and expected a high standard. There was a labor involved in dating her, and therefore a financial burden. As one male participant indicated, there are plenty of super attractive girls on dating apps, but I mean, I can't afford that sort of thing. It's too high maintenance.
All right, okay. Lisa, what are you trying to argue for here? You want men who can't afford your lifestyle to approach you.
Well,
like, seriously.
I think she's trying to figure out, and that's why a lot of these articles are so long-winded. How do I make the case that men should not be allowed to have preferences without overtly saying that men should not be allowed to have preferences? So,
well, it's even more than not allowed to have preferences. These guys are like, you know, this woman looks like she looks like a $2,000 a month, or I don't know, a $10,000 a month woman. I only make $5,000 a month. I think I can't afford her or her tastes. Perhaps I shouldn't approach her or send her a message. I will move on to someone who looks like she's more in my budget. Like, what is the alternative there? That man, you know, like Plumber Joe, suddenly morphed into Mr. Big or Christian Grey. I got billions, and I can totally afford this woman. Like, what is the alternative? Aside from, yeah, this woman looks like she's too expensive for me. Moving on. Look, what did he just win the lottery? That he's completely changed who he is and become a high-powered executive who still probably wouldn't want you? You know, it's like, what is it that she wants guys to do in this instance? Because it's not a situation where they're like, oh, this is an irrational preference. They're essentially saying, this man is essentially saying, this woman wouldn't want me, so I'm going to move on.
That's true.
Like,
he's the one making the assessment. He's like, well, I don't think I'm a good fit because I can't afford this.
Yeah, let's look at this in a different way. Let's imagine if high maintenance to her meant a perfect 10, like a supermodel. You know, the perfect figure, double D's, all of the bells and whistles, right?
Yeah.
And that's the high maintenance. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything. Perfect 10. And she goes on a dating site, and there's, there's Ted who's balding and short and has got a pot belly. And he's like, I think that this attractive woman probably wouldn't be attracted to me. So I don't think I'll send her a message. In comes Lisa and says, she has to make herself look less attractive to attract Tom, who's not going to send her a message because Tom thinks he's not attractive enough for her. What the hell do you want in this scenario, Lisa?
Maybe she She wants more men who are not good enough to step up so that women can turn them down.
You know what she really wants? You know what she really wants, I'm guessing? In my opinion?
Yeah.
She wants more men who are attractive to her to approach her.
To exist and approach her.
Yeah, to exist. But the problem is that there aren't enough of them. There aren't the top 10% of men. There aren't enough of them to have a top 10% of man for every 90% of women. Mm-hmm. So... but you understand how ridiculous it is?
It is.
This guy is saying, this woman won't find me attractive, so I won't waste her time and mine. And she's making a deal out of that.
Yep.
Astounding. That's some real high maintenance thinking, actually, come to think of it.
Yeah, it's crazy. I want to hear more. I want to see how she
squares it.
Flesh this out, yeah. Women within my research sought to present themselves as pretty but relatable. They didn't want to intimidate a potential match through their images and behavior. As one female participant indicated, a high-maintenance woman expected too much. The need to appear attractive and yet not high maintenance meant women had to conduct a balancing act. There was a kind of effortless, pretty nonchalance required. So she's calling it effortless while also claiming it's a lot of work. My everyday look is an oversized tee and very comfy clothes. What? Did I skip that?
Like, all of this is like a big, big gaping bucket of who gives a fuck. Like everything. It's all it's how women have to perform. It's what they look like. It's blah, blah, blah. Who cares? Do you really think that matters in a long-term relationship? I mean, aside from basic attraction issues, you're focusing on this idea, and it's ridiculously shallow. Even the woman who's like trying to portray herself in terms of her clothing, that itself is pretentious. Even if she's talking about very comfy clothing, well, what do you think? What is your morality? What are your principles? What are the ethics you hold yourself to? What do you want in your life? What are the things that you would like to do with your prospective partner on a rainy Saturday afternoon where you can't go anywhere and you're just stuck with each other? What are you going to do? What are you going to talk about? What activities are you going to engage with?
Doesn't seem to think that men want any of that.
Of course,
go ahead.
When you're not super attractive, it's all the other aspects of the relationship that matters. But, let's focus on what is likely a pretty woman trying to present herself as in a particular way.
Mm-hmm.
Like Drac. I, too, am amazingly humble.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, I'll read this just so that the audience can hear it. My everyday look is an oversized tee and very comfy clothes. But on my profile, there's the festival picture where I'm obviously done up, and there are 2 other photos where I'm with friends. I did feel the pressure where you should at least look pretty, but at the same time, you need to look relatable. So I guess at the same time, people aren't intimidated to approach you. There is that pressure that you need to look friendly enough, but pretty enough, but not too friendly at the same time. It's a weird line. It's really not that complicated. It's really not. But this, I think that what women like miss a lot, or at least women like these women, is that unless you're just looking for a sexual hookup, because I think if you're just looking for a sexual hookup, then the only thing that really matters is like, are you looking hot enough and bangable enough in the moment. But if people are really looking for something more, if they want to like, you know, turn this into potentially a relationship, I think that what men generally value is a woman that is not going to drive them crazy. That's basically it. I'm serious. They want to be with a woman who they don't have to share the same interests, not at least not across the board. They don't have to have like the same hobbies or any of that. What matters more is do they have like similar values, and also like, you know, can the man feel like he can just, like you said, spend a lazy Saturday afternoon when it's raining out, hanging out, like, you know, at the house or whatever, and not drive each other crazy. That's it. Like that, men are really simple like that. They want to be, you know, in a comfortable, easy relationship. If they want to be in a relationship at all, it's generally like, I don't need stress. So,
well, I would say that is, I mean, that's the appropriate approach to have a relationship, to be with someone that you don't need to change.
Yes.
Who's a sort of a sanctuary for you, somewhere that you can be with, but you can also sort of be alone around. That's something that I think is, I mean, it may be different for more social people, but it's like, if you can be with a person and you can also just feel like you're alone, not lonely, but just feel like you can have your own personal space while being with a person, that seems to be something that is very, very good for being able to maintain a long-term relationship. And none of this has anything to do with that. It's all about look, and of course it's going to be a look, because they are trying to appeal. Like, based on statistics, which she probably never even looks at, these women are trying to appeal to the top 10% of men. And I wonder, if you set aside all of this balancing the fine line, what if they put out a picture of a really high maintenance woman with an expensive and like a teacup poodle and whatever else makes a woman look high maintenance, but then had her asking for things from a man that no other woman is asking? And I don't mean like, oh, he has to be a Mercedes, he has to be, but asking things like, you know, I would like somebody who is interested in pursuing art in their spare time, or something, like somebody who enjoys reading, you know, like,
yeah.
Would she not get an interest? Like, if she portrayed herself as totally high maintenance, supposedly in her photos, but then actually had something unique to say about what she wanted in a man, you don't think that she would get interest? Like,
yeah.
I mean, that would be
no,
like
absolutely
a personality. I mean, regardless of whether or not she has a taste for expensive clothes, but betrayed a personality that has more than just that. You know, portrayed a personality that you could, you know, have that lazy Saturday evening, not go clubbing, and just enjoy, I don't know, watercolor painting or playing chess or doing something together. You know, you don't think that she would be inundated with attention. It's not looking high maintenance. It's not necessarily a particular, though it does come down to that's, you're on a dating site. It's visual is going to reign supreme. But what I'm trying to get at is what she's calling high maintenance and what she's calling not high maintenance, portraying yourself as not high maintenance. Like this girl who's like, I want to look a particular way. Well, how is she different than any other girl who look a particular way and is focusing entirely on that, and likely has exact same expectations in the partner that she's going to consider as every other girl on the site? You know, anyway.
Yep.
I don't know. Excavate through that. Maybe you can find some nuggets.
No, I think everyone follows. I see the comments. All right, so I got some super chats. Thanks, guys, for the support. Albert Nada Retro gives us $5 Canadian and says, here's a little cash for your production budget. I'll try to catch the show later. Lord of Swarm gives us $20. Thank you, Lord of Swarm. Very nice. And he says, my worst job was not the winter digging masonry job. It was the horizontal sewer main sneaking in a 2.5-foot tall crawl space from a clean out 1 foot away from the crawl space wall in winter. I was covered in waste. Well,
Okay.
I'm sorry about that. That's terrible.
Yeah, that sounds like a hard job. Also, why is it that, there are so few men who are described as high maintenance? I wonder.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's such a mystery. Who knows? I guess it's just misogyny.
We'll have to go to the Dalai Lama and find out if he can help us.
Help us with this great mystery.
Yes, with this great mystery. Senior Sticks gives us $5 and says, isn't the current standard for women in the USA, at least, to be unrelatable, unlikable, and totally selfish, but selfless somehow, a la feminism? Not unique to the United States, but
This is not the standard. This is the lack of standard.
Yeah, this is the no standard.
The girl power. I defy all standards, and I don't hold myself up to any kind of sense of responsibility for anybody at all. And I'm bossing and leaning in, and all of that jazz. And oh wow, why do I feel like I have no control over my life?
Yeah, right.
Oh boy. I'm a victim of everything. Why do I feel like I have no control over my life?
Why am I so depressed? I have convinced myself that my actions are meaningless. All right. Identity management. This kind of identity management is nothing new, particularly on social media. It is distinctly pervasive for girls and young women who are generally represented as having or being too little or too much. Too fat or too thin, too clever or too stupid, too free or too restricted.
Oh, nonsense.
Yeah,
like, seriously, he just completely glosses over the pressure to put on men. Once again, top 10% of men, right? They're the only ones who are even seen on these dating sites, and they have to be muscular. They have to be fit. Most likely, they have to have absolutely no emotional needs. Like they have to be stoic. And none of that is even considered by her, that this is not a one-way street. And in fact, it's like an Amish carriage lane beside a 4-lane highway. So one way going from men to women, Amish.
Yeah.
Women to the pressure, women to men, 4-lane highway. So you're looking at two very different powers in terms of pressure. One excludes 90% of men right off the bat. You got to be the physical top 10%. And you can't use makeup or clothing or these kinds of tricks. I mean, to a degree you can as a man, to hide if you're short or fat or not muscular.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah,
so,
but they're not engaging at the extremely high levels of photo manipulation that women are. I mean, I've seen pictures of women that are like, there are so many filters. It's like that's not even her anymore. Like it's somebody else.
Like you can peer into the fifth dimension with all of these filters.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it's like there's the pressure on men, which excludes 90% of men, and then there's the pressure on women, which excludes almost no women. But they feel a slight amount of pressure in competing with each other for more attention. Like
from the top 10% of men, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that these two things aren't comparable. But on the other hand, recent years, this may have switched because now the women who aren't having sex in the last year outnumber the men.
Oh.
Which may be where the rise in female incel culture is coming.
Yeah, which I also have an article on, but we can maybe go to that later. Very interesting how sympathetic female incels are all of a sudden. But okay, but anyway.
Let's get on. I have some Superchows, actually.
Oh, okay. All right, go ahead then.
Okay. The bestess. Like it's spelled like best, but testes, sort of. The besties.
Oh, besties.
The besties. Pripmaster gives us $10. Thank you, Pripmaster. And just a reminder that if you go through feedthebadger.com/justthetip, we get almost all of it aside from the the fees, whereas YouTube takes 50%, Rumble takes 25%. So if you want to put something fairly substantial through, I would suggest feedthebadger.com/justthetip. And Pritmaster says, romantic chivalry was all about fetishizing high maintenance women, but these women fulfilled a minimum standard of femininity. There's not much a woman has to do to find a man who will deal with her high maintenance, but even that is too much to ask now. Well, technically chivalry, like high Renaissance, if you actually
it wasn't really about women, right?
Well, it was, but
it was more like it was broader than that. I thought it was more like knightly.
Yes, it was broader
behavior.
than that. And the women in question, the aristocratic women, they had their own expectations that were pretty freaking intense.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you read the stories, the lives of aristocratic women, they could be really brutal and punctuated with a lot of violence and difficulty, and kidnapping and being stuck in covenants and basically jailed. So they didn't necessarily get off too easy. I would say that women today are some of the most cosseted women. Like if you go back in the past, like the women who were lower class were of course doing incredibly difficult, laborious jobs. The women of the upper class actually had significant duties to their nations or their fiefdoms or whatever, that were in them of themselves very arduous, and yeah, like it wasn't the same kind of mentality. Like I think you'd actually have to go back more.
So you're
to, like,
saying it sounds like the most high class women of the old days still had more of a standard that they had to live up to as women than women today, than even the women at the bottom. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Like yeah, they had to live with aspects of life that were really difficult. And then the other thing is I would actually honestly say that the only equivalent to the modern woman in our society with, I don't know, a government job or writing as a journalist, or in academia, is basically a harem girl. Like a completely cosseted woman who has to do no labor, who basically, and harem women, like when you're talking about harem societies, harems could number in like the tens of thousands. So there's no conceivable one
Look
man.
At the concubines of like a Chinese emperor.
Yeah,
but they would tens of thousands.
There was almost no conceivable way that a man could have sex with all of these women.
Oh.
So a lot of them would be part of a bureaucratic apparatus that basically distributed resources, or they'd be learning things, so it was like a very privileged position to be in, and no labor at all, or very little, aside from scheming and backbiting. All right, so I would say that that's sort of the situation of the modern woman. And so what a surprise, it's also sort of a harem situation where they're vying for a very small percentage of men. Yep. All right, the Great Indoors gives us $5, except they don't get a room and board for it, I guess the modern woman gets a rawer deal in that sense. At least she has to go get a job. The Great Indoors gives us $5. Could it be that what we're seeing in this article is the fallout of the fact that Me Too basically destroyed the appeal of having a so-called trophy wife? Did Me Too not just destroy the appeal of having women in your general vicinity entirely?
Me Too, absolutely. I think that they're still feeling the effects, and it's losing its credibility thanks to Amber Heard.
Oh God, I hope it has no credibility.
Well, it's losing it. Like, seriously, it's losing it. Like, at the very least, in the court of public opinion, men are like, yeah, see, this right here is why I don't work with women.
Yeah, and it's a perfectly valid thing to say, in my opinion. If you're going to give women these, like, the ability to horribly abuse a man and then accuse that you're doing to him, and then be uncritically supported by everyone around her and the institutions, like, would women want to live in that kind of the world with men? He beats you up, And then he goes out and he tells the Meninist institution, she's an abuser. And the entire society is like, yeah, she abused him. Would you want to be around men in that scenario? The answer is no. Why do you expect men to suck up the same situation in the reverse? Anyway.
Yep. It's all cope now when it comes to Amber Heard. There's so much copium being huffed on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube. It's hilarious to watch. But okay, let's move on. Identity management. Here, the line was between sexiness and effortlessness. Female participants felt the urge to look pretty, but also not so pretty that they might scare prospective matches off. Physical attributes or ways of presenting oneself were also often conflated with personal behaviors and expectations. In effect, women had to portray themselves as naturally pretty, capable, expectationless, fun-loving, and most importantly, easygoing. All to ensure a man's comfort. So why would a man want to date a woman who does not have those qualities? Let's look at those again. Women had to portray themselves. By the way, if you're actually trying to make an effort to appear this way, that means you're not this way. So you're probably you're going to shock this guy later when you trick him into thinking that you're a decent human being when in fact you're not. But naturally pretty, okay? Which, yeah, you don't like that. If a man should be physically attracted to you. Now, of course, different men have different tastes. Some men, like women thinner. Some men like them a little thicker. Whatever. They might have a preference for blondes. They might have a preference for white girls. They might have a preference for Asians. It's okay because that's the way people are. Women are the same way. So naturally pretty, that's a big thing to say. Capable, yeah, it'd be nice to not be dating a moron. Expectationless, well, I wouldn't say completely without expectation, because I think men like being held to some kind of standard from their partner, I guess. But,
yeah, like, what does she mean by expectationless? Like, nobody believes it. No, I don't think there's any man alive who's like, yeah, this woman has absolutely no expectations. In fact, that isn't even, like, does she realize that sex dolls, they're now programming sex dolls to have expectations?
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, because part of human mating is feeling like you're appealing to something that has standards. Okay?
Yeah.
So this, I am calling bullshit on that one.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
Fun-loving.
I think
okay.
expectationless sounds like a
cope.
Yeah, it sounds like a cope. It's probably more like women that have like extremely high standards, but she can't say that, right? So
forcing a false dichotomy.
Yeah.
Well, okay, go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, it's okay. I was just saying I think that having expectations is normal, but I think that believing that a man should have, I don't know, like be like really successful or drive a certain kind of car or wear certain clothes, basically markers of status or other ways that they demonstrate their, like, what power level they are. And I think that that's the part that makes men go, well, is this going to be a good fit for me because I'm not this materialistic or whatever.
Let me put it this way. This may be women's perception, but if they're putting expectations into sex dolls, then an expectationless partner is obviously not what men want. I think she's forcing a dichotomy. She's saying either you accept a high maintenance woman with or an impossible maintenance woman with so many expectations, your entire life becomes about jumping through hoops, or you just want an expectationless sex doll. And it's like, no, actually there is a middle ground that you want and aim for. And you are denying the middle ground in order to claim some kind of self-righteous high ground, is what I'm getting at when I'm saying she's forcing a dichotomy. But I mean, let's look at this. Men had to portray themselves as naturally handsome, capable, expectationless, fun-loving, and most importantly, easygoing. Like, is that not I mean, that actually is. I think a
pretty
lot of men would be
reasonable.
happy with. Yeah,
Yeah?
that seems reasonable. Yeah, like a lot of men would be. Hey, I can handle that. If we exchange expectation lists, which is more like what feminists expect of men, which is ironic considering what we're
Yeah.
reading. Expectation lists. You mean sort of what you're demanding men be, even if those expectations are, our friend Todd there, who's makes $5,000 and looks at a picture of a
Mhm.
woman who has like a $20,000 purse and says, I think she might be out of my budget. And this Lisa is complaining about Todd, saying, I don't think I'm attractive to this woman, so I'm not going to bother her. And Lisa's like, how dare Todd do that? He should totally not think that a high maintenance woman is out of his league. He should
Mhm.
totally go for the, like, what? Anyway, and she's saying that men expect women to be expectationless, while she is insisting that's immoral for men to have expectations, even when it's not really men having expectations, but men saying, I don't think I'm going to be attractive to this woman, therefore I'm not going to bug her.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like
It's not even
men
the man's expectation.
essentially removing themselves from the competition.
It's just
They're
a
making
recognition of her expectations, and she's
Yeah.
reframing men recognizing women's expectations as men's expectations, and then saying, well, you don't even have the right to recognize women's expectations. That's misogyny. Which I'm guessing is where this is all going, or it's some kind of.
I'm fairly sorry. I mean, I haven't read it all yet. But I'm
I always
guessing.
like to be surprised.
I'm guessing because
and
it's
I'm never surprised.
are women victims of expectations,
Are women
or of victims of
men
men who are deciding that they don't? They're recognizing women's
expectations
and checking
I think
themselves
the
out.
answer is yes. Women are victims of men recognizing women's expectations and selecting themselves out of women who engaging with women who they don't think they will meet their expectations. Like,
Yep.
Oh God! And then at the same time, she's accusing men of wanting expectationless, like wanting a woman without expectations. Men should take responsibility and not have any expectations, and they should also not have any recognition of women's expectations. And also, men expect women to be expectation. This is projection, is what I'm getting at. Okay.
Yeah.
It's like I can't. There isn't a simple concept that I can't make more. I'm saying she's projecting.
She is projecting. They always do. Iron law.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's see. Physical attributes. I don't know if I read. Oh no. Hidden behind this. Hidden behind this.
No, don't forget.
No, I read that. I read that one. We did read
that.
And I all to ensure a man's comfort.
Yes, don't forget that line.
No, I read that line. I did before.
You did?
Yeah.
Because God forbid a man be comfortable in his relationship.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you're dating a guy, why should I be concerned with his comfort? Well, that's strange.
You know this is your solution, Lisa. Just don't date men. Like, go find yourself another scoop in the spectrum. Go find yourself another one that's a little bit more appealing.
Yeah.
If you're going into the dating realm and you want to date men, and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I would even be expected to make my sexual partner or my romantic partner comfortable. What a horrible thing for him to expect from me. I think you need to not date men. Really. Yeah. Like if you're coming at it from that attitude, just don't. And there shouldn't be any stigma. And like seriously, just get yourself another scoop on the spectrum, or get yourself some cats, and enjoy your life without somebody you are going to get in a relationship with and apparently some kind of competition.
Well, and
that if he's comfortable, then that's horrible.
Maybe we'll look at her. We'll look at her profile after this is over. Curious to see. But hidden behind this seemingly insignificant, even innocuous statement was something far more sinister.
Oh.
It seemed to describe the multitude of ways women rein themselves in to appease men, not complaining.
You don't have to date men. You don't have to date men. Like seriously.
How do women rein themselves in to appease men? Well, they're not complaining, not demanding too much, not expressing their needs, not having expectations for emotional openness or fulfillment. In effect, not making any of the demands which are the necessary requirements for an intimacy based on relations of equality and mutuality.
Are men expecting this? Like,
Yeah.
are men like presenting themselves, yeah, I'm plain, demand a lot, express my needs, and deal with me crying at the drop of a hat. And also we're going to have long 3-hour discussions about where our relationship is progressing. Like, equality is equality, right? I don't think men
Yeah.
are asking for this shit either. God, my God.
I
All
know
I can
this
say
is
is, as a
this
woman,
is so like this that paragraph. Well, I mean, the title of the fucking article is the biggest red flag. But any person who believes that there's some truth to this, men, you should stay far, far away from them.
yeah,
Like,
let them
you
find
know.
another. But you know what? I don't even want this woman to find a scoop from the female aisle, because as a
Mhm.
woman,
You're gonna put those women through that. You don't want
yeah,
that.
you're gonna put women through this. This sounds like you want someone to sign up for like a third job, like a second job. No, and even worse, because you don't get
Be a
paid. Like,
second and a third job.
oh yeah, a second and a third job in which you are handing your paycheck over to your boss.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what the hell do you think relationships are?
Yeah, I know. It's wild. It's all. I mean, men just want someone that they find
Where is it
attractive
coming from?
and that's nice to them. I think that's really all it is.
The only quote from a man is, "Yeah, I don't think I'm attractive to these guys.
Yeah.
I'm gonna approach them." That's her only quote, and then she's come all the way to not making any demands. So she's basically gone from a guy being like, I think this woman has expectations that I can't fulfill, so I'm going to move on to, my God, men are orcs.
Yeah.
What? Where are the interceding steps, lady? Like, can we get a few more quotes that sort of support any of this? Because right now you're just up in your own ass.
Yep. Makes no sense.
Mm-hmm.
All right. In effect.
Oh God! And then she
Yeah.
just keeps
Ultimately,
going off.
I think this one's almost over.
Yes,
Ultimately,
gotta
yeah,
hurt you.
that's not bad. The high maintenance woman was too much to handle, which confirmed known stereotypes that women are expected to be quiet, subservient, opinionless, and always amenable. That they shouldn't be difficult.
Oh God!
I mean, try being the antithesis of those things, and then go out and date men and let me know how it goes. Let me know how it goes, because it can't be your fault. If you're like extremely opinionated, you're dominant, you are loud and aggressive and
difficult.
and hard to work with, like literally like uncompromising. I have no idea how any of that could mean that you're high maintenance. I submit my inferior to your superior intellect and understanding of human dynamics. And why wouldn't men continue to like you when you act that way? Well, it's their fault if they don't.
Oh God damn! You know what? I got a solution for you, Lisa. Don't date men.
Yeah.
Don't even bother. Like, just go and don't date women either, because we don't want you. Go get yourself some cats. Cats probably don't want you either. Get yourself some hermit crabs. They're pretty invulnerable. You can live in your condo by yourself with your terrarium full of hermit crabs, and just leave humans alone. All of us.
Do women like this
I usually
want?
go with find yourself another scoop on the spectrum. This one I'm going to go with. Get yourself a terrarium full of hermit crabs. Leave the rest of humanity alone.
Well,
Thank
some
you.
kind of animal that you can't like kill due to neglect
Yeah,
or
easily.
desire to torture. So maybe like those, those like really, what do they call them? They're like little shell insect things that have been alive for like you know, thousands of years, or maybe we'll give you
tardigrade. The ones that can live in outer space.
Yeah, the tardigrade. Yeah, get a terrarium full of tardigrades and watch over them, because you can't possibly fuck that up. Maybe, I don't know. You could lose them. You could like knock over the, in a drunken stupor.
Yeah, her tardigrades will be all over the floor. So much the Holocaust of the tardigrades. Yeah, there has to be a level beyond cat lady. Tardigrade terrarium.
Well, we wouldn't want any cats to have to go through that, so we want fewer cat ladies.
Tart.
Yeah,
she is a tardigrade terrarium tart. No, yeah, you have to. You need to have a creature that is almost impossible to kill. That is your plan for the rest of your life. Godspeed. Please leave humans alone.
Yeah, and other animals.
The reason why, could you imagine being with this woman? Like, she took one quote. There are plenty of super attractive girls on dating apps. This is the only thing. This is the entire. It's like she has like one of those beach houses, and it's on it's not on stilts. It's just on like a stilt, a single one. Like, and she's constructed this gigantic bamboo mansion on the stilt, and the single stilt is this one quote by this one guy. There are plenty of super attractive girls on dating apps, but I mean, I can't afford that sort of thing. It's too high maintenance. These women want a man with features that I do not have. Therefore, I am not going to approach them. That is the statement. That is the single solitary.
That this whole thing is based on.
This whole thing is based on, and from that statement, she has gone through various levels of becoming a victim of it. Okay? Up to the point where we're at the end here, and somehow men have become orcs. Ultimately, the high-maintenance woman was too much to handle. So the guy was like, I'm going to be attracted to her, which confirmed known stereotypes that women are expected to be quiet, subservient, opinionless, and always amenable. Again, the guy was just like, yeah, this woman looks like she's a $20,000 a month woman. I'm a $5,000 a month man. I don't think it's going to work. I'll just move on to something else. But that means that he wants someone quiet, subservient, opinionless, and always amenable.
Of course.
Wow. This woman, her mind reading skills, she should really be employed in the CIA, don't you think?
Yeah, she probably is. I think that women like this that want men to basically be in relationships where they're miserable, it's like they want to see more domestic abuse. And so they like put in like ultra demanding, bossy, disagreeable psychos, and she's like, that woman needs a boyfriend.
Yeah, like domestic abuse against men, I think.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I think we need to clarify, because people will take oh my God, what are they saying? No, we mean the kind of domestic abuse that nobody cares about. So calm your tits. But yes, this is like how she goes from such a small, little, innocuous quote, and then here we are. Men expect women to be quiet, subservient, opinionless, always amenable. Based on what? I don't see any evidence of this. It hardened feminine mainstays. The woman is required to smile and make nice. No evidence. Just a guy saying, I think that woman's too expensive for me. I'm going to move on. Not to be overt, and ultimately not to take up too much space.
Of course. You mean be really fat, or do you mean like your kind of space?
Well, I mean, seriously. Like, could you imagine coming home to this lady? And you just walk through the door.
She just like has her shit lying around. Because I'm like, okay, what does it mean to take up too much space if it doesn't mean that you're like a ham beast? It means that you're essentially like trying to own or control,
suck the air out of everything. I'm going to tell you
suck the air out of everything. Yeah.
You come home from a long day at work. Your boss has yelled at you for 6 hours straight. You got a headache. He comes through the door and you just aren't up to having a smile. And she looks at you and she says, you hate me. You can't stand my presence because I take up room, and I just want you to come through that door with a smile on your face, and your hand, and a 5-course meal from a really expensive restaurant and tickets to Hawaii and a cruise. And you just can't do that for me, you damn orc. This relationship isn't about equality. You just want me to be subservient and silent. And you're just like, I've just been yelled at for 6 hours. And she takes the littlest amount of self-care, which is this guy being like, you know what, I'll save the woman the effort of rejecting me and just not approach. The littlest amount of self-care, and spins it into a gigantic narrative of how you're a monster for failing to put her needs first. She is the literal and real, like the real definition of high maintenance, which is that you don't give your partner any emotional space to be at all. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, she's the one trying to defend being high maintenance. That's essentially what this is, right? Yeah, it's the end of the article. Yeah. There's just a certain invisibility was required, even in an online dating space.
Are you freaking kidding
Women are
me?
being erased.
Because they want to not appear to be expensive to date.
Or just costly in other ways, I guess.
And then ultimately, again, I'm not going to conjecture anything that men are thinking based on anything but a quote by a man. The single thing that all of this rests on, which doesn't imply any of this. And yet here we are with this unbelievably elaborate condemnation of all men based on one dude saying, hey, that girl is expensive to date, so I'll save myself the trouble, save her the trouble of rejecting. And now this. Like, it's like watching a small dog bark at itself in the mirror. All the guy did was like, I'm just gonna move this thing out of the way of the mirror, and then Lisa's been barking at herself like the last 10 hours. And it's like, okay, yeah, but a man didn't do that. The man may have moved the object out of the mirror so you could see yourself.
Yep.
But he didn't put the mirror. He isn't the creature in the mirror that you're barking. It's you.
Yep.
Yeah. Get yourself some tardigrades, Lisa. That's
let's see if there's something I can learn about Lisa Portolan. I'm just curious. So, Lisa Portolan, PhD student, Institute for Culture and Society, Western Sydney University. Sydney University, is that? Oh, yeah. Yep, that's in Australia. So she's an Aussie. Lisa Portolan is a PhD candidate at Western Sydney University. She has a BA in Communications and International Studies and a Master's of International Studies from the University of Technology, Sydney. She's a published author. Happy As, I don't know what that is. Oh, I guess that's her book. And yeah, it is. Published author, Happy As, I don't know. That's a book called Happy As. Maybe I'll look it up and back to this. And writes for a number of publications. She heads up the Mark Agency, Sydney office, and is the current chair of the Register Communications Group. Her field of study includes dating apps, digital intimacy, and publics, I don't know what that is, and the changing landscape of communication. Not super useful. Articles, things that she's written.
Girl.
What is a soft or hard relationship launch? I don't care about celebrity shit. You can't leave a Hollywood meet cute on a dating app, but is that a bad thing? The safest sex you'll ever have. How coronavirus changing online dating. Yeah, this is all garbage. I don't really care. Now, what were you saying?
Okay, Happy As. Why the quest for happiness?
Why the quest for happiness? What?
And fresh insight to the idea of happiness in the digital age. In a world where data is the new currency, social media is turning us all into talking billboards and brands, and we're meant to be mindful, manifesting, and present. Isn't it a bit rich to be expected to be happy? What the hell is your... Lisa, no one expects you to be happy.
I like how I like how They like,
Everything is an expectation. No, people just want to be happy.
yeah.
Or perhaps content. You know? Like, not everything is something inflicted on you, Lisa. Some things are things you have chosen for yourself, like hopefully the tardigrade terrarium. After a lifetime spent actively searching for happiness as well as studying it, communications executive and yogi, I think she'd have a little more wisdom than that, Lisa Portolan shares valuable insights into how we science and industry created products around it and supported it with a whole heap of advertising to ensure that works, but is brand me just a recipe for unhappiness? Boy, you need a hobby.
Yeah,
Lisa
really.
points the way to an alternative approach, or instead of performing or pursuing an artificial happiness, discover our authentic, holistic, and learn that this is enough. I don't think I would trust this woman's wisdom. Like, after watching her spin one quote from one dude who's basically saying, I recognize women's expectations and I will act accordingly, into some, like, existential crisis about how men want.
Yeah.
I think that I trust her mental processes to be a good model for creating happiness in your life somehow. A big call, but coming from a practitioner of the dark art of advertising persuasion, Lisa's insights are fucking surprising and enlightening. Paul Bongino AM. Lisa Portland's fascinating exploration of happiness, those fresh insights and much lauded, but little examined condition. Startling in its insight and surprising in its scale, happy as sheds light into the darker corners of people's search for joy. And oddly enough, it's an unbridled joy to read. Okay, let's see the, it's got 1 3-star review. Wow, this is widely read.
It's got...
Yes, it's got 0 customer reviews and.
But she's published. Are you trying to make her shrink herself again, Alison?
Oh, do you mean am I holding them to some kind of standard that isn't entirely about her own desires for how she wants to be portrayed or
perceived
I don't
or represented?
Yeah. Isn't it a bit rich to be expected to be happy too? Who the hell is expecting you to be? Who cares if you're happy? No one.
I don't.
Only you. Like, I don't care. I hope that she finds fulfillment with her tardigrade terrarium. But you know, aside from that, like generic kind of, world would be a better place if people like Lisa were happy. I don't care, nor do I expect her to be happy. In fact, after reading that article, I would be greatly surprised if she was capable of being happy. Which, incidentally, might be a way of describing a woman who's capable of being happy.
Yes, I think so. Well, I mean, they wouldn't write a fucking essay about, like, you know, on this premise of being perceived as high maintenance, and then making a defense in essentially an argument in defense of being high maintenance, while blaming men for it. But not because it's bad.
The cracking sound, like if you heard that.
No, I didn't hear it.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe my mic only picks up the vibrations from a voice, the frequency.
Perhaps I didn't hear anything. So
okay, that's good. Superchow. Want to do that?
Let's do it. That's the end of the article, and there are no comments, of course.
You know, there is a virtue to this article. It's short. Congratulations, Lisa. At least you kept it short. I guess because
it's still several paragraphs too long, but yes, it's short.
Yes, it's still several paragraphs too long, and really it isn't well supported by its evidence, because you have one and it's completely innocuous and is in fact a man recognizing putting any of his own.
Yeah.
And from that you have spun an astounding level of assertions about how awful men are. Which again leads me to the question, why would you want to date them? Humans in general. But you know, like it was short. It was shorter than the usual. Usually these are like 5 times longer. I just you know, here's a bit of advice for you might be happier if you didn't impugns such a level of malice, such an enormous. You
Yeah.
just sit back and be like, is this realistic? Is it realistic for me to portray men as wanting to silence women and have subservient sex dolls, which men don't apparently even want subservient sex dolls? Is it realistic for me to have this level of a chip on my shoulder based on one quote by a guy who essentially said, I see high maintenance women kinds of expectations. I don't think I fulfill them. I'm not going to waste their time.
Yep.
Does that really justify? Or am I portraying myself as capable of just existing, letting things go, which, I'm a person that I have difficulty, can relate to that. And just being with myself, just being able to be happy? Or do I portray myself as a person who out opportunities to be miserable and to hate the world, or specifically men? Okay.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
If you want to be happy, Lisa, maybe you should consider that kind of behavior to yourself, because to be honest, men are just looking at you and saying, "Yeah, no, I'm moving on." You're probably not affecting men's happiness. You're just affecting your own.
That's true. So what's the Superchow?
Give some serious thought to the tardigrade terrarium. All right.
Yeah.
Yes, we have Superchows. I want to remind everybody, I guess, a few minutes to get your final Superchows in at feedthebadger.com/justthetip. The bustiest Pritmaster. The besties Pritmaster.
Oh,
now
the besties.
bustiest.
Now the bustiest?
The bustiest.
Oh, okay. All right.
Gives you $10. She couldn't resist to lump in the stereotypical feminist view of traditional femininity. What's so wrong about being a bit more quiet and submissive? There cannot be two dominant partners in a relationship. Ho, ho, ho. I think that me and Jonathan give lie to that. This doesn't mean that women cannot have an opinion. It just establishes a relationship dynamic. No, we have to force the dichotomy. If a woman isn't a ball-busting, face-kicking, girl-bossing, harridan, screeching how the man isn't living up to every single one of her expectations, then she's a completely submissive doormat. There is no try.
There is no middle ground. It's just a binary. It's not a spectrum.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that is hilarious how gender is a binary, but all of their thinking, gender is a spectrum, but all of their thinking is binary.
Yeah, it's absolutely binary. It's like extremely black and white, but not gender though.
Shadow Wolf, $10. Here's a tenner in celebration of my finishing coursework. I really appreciate all of your work. Keep it up. Thank you, Shadow Wolf.
Thank you, Shadow Wolf.
All right.
Should I give them a sound bite for that one?
Sure.
All right, here we go. Sex Panther.
It's called Sex Panther by Odeon. It's illegal in 9 countries. Yep. It's made with bits of real panther, so you know it's good.
60% of the time, it works every time.
All right.
I gotta be honest with you, that smells terrible. All right, so I do have some super chats as well. So just one. Lord of Swarm gives us $5 and says, so this lady is doing the feminist Netflix edition of Ramstein's Du Hast meets the rich girl from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Got it. I'll take that.
I actually know all of those references. I'm having a little difficulty putting them together.
Yeah, I don't even know what Du Hast is about.
It's about this construct, like a Frankenstein yelling at his, I guess, scientist mother creator. So it's like mother issues meet rich. Yeah.
I mean, I know the song, but I didn't know what, because it's German. So
could read the super chat again. I love how you guys.
So this lady is doing the feminist Netflix edition of Rammstein's Du Hast meets the rich girl from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Got it. Is the rich girl the one that becomes like a giant blueberry?
Yes.
Okay. So I do know.
No, she's the one that falls down the the chute with the golden eggs.
See, I don't remember that, but I haven't seen that movie in a really long time. By the way, sad face, Fred Ward passed away. And you guys probably are like, who the hell is Fred Ward? You might know him. He was an actor. You might know him from Tremors. He was Kevin Bacon's buddy in that. And I know him from Remo Williams' The Adventure Begins. So he is just one of these.
I did not know.
One of these actors that you didn't see him in a lot of stuff, but, you know, men like him or liked him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe because he's low maintenance.
Yeah, he's a low maintenance. Yeah,
he's a low maintenance friend, you know.
Yeah,
someone you can hang out with and enjoy time with. All right, we got another super chow. Once again, if you want to send some in, it's just the tip feed the badger / just the tip. So feed us just the tip, which I thought was really clever.
There's a link in the description for that. So
yeah, there's a link in the description. By the way, I like how this guy took this metaphor. It's almost like our audience is like, Alison, you know, hold my milkshake. I can do one. I can be even more confusing than you. I like that because I have I'm actually still exactly, but I think that it's probably interesting anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with not understanding. All right. So
some things are probably best. Like not
understood,
not deeply understood. You know, I read some Lovecraft, and I'm okay with that.
You're okay with you're okay. Leave it at that. Okay, group photo meme gives us $5 and says, "Gosh, I hope it's not the fat one." That's in quotes, so I'm imagining that this is quoting something.
He's probably quoting a not Remo Williams, a Fred Ward movie, I bet.
I love how, like, what I was getting at with my previous statements, how send us comments. Often you have no clue what they're talking about.
Yeah. It's like they're individual puzzles.
Yeah, they're individual puzzles.
Yep.
And sometimes I wonder if we attract people like that because I often don't make much sense myself. At least I don't think I do. Mm-hmm. And then people are like, wow, it's another one of ours. And then they just don't make sense back to us. Maybe there's no information actually being conveyed on this channel and through this podcast.
Well,
it's just
I think
people talking and confusing metaphors and references.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was gonna say. It's just people talking and references. And of course, sometimes we have no idea what the references are.
Welcome to the pit of confusion.
Yeah, it's a Sarlacc pit.
Pull up a spaghetti string and take the ducks off. All right.
I think we're good. We got our super chats and chows.
Yeah,
and
we got no more.
Hour and a half, so it's a
sufficient amount of time. Yeah.
Sufficient amount of time. Yeah. So
okay, so
why don't you say, do your things.
All right. You can, if you like this content and you want to send us a message, even if we receive a message in between shows, we endeavor to send them out on the next show. They also go into our Patreon Discord, which you can access by becoming a subscriber. And our patrons can actually, vote on these things, give a thumbs up and expressions and discuss them. So it's like it's an ecosystem, a tardigrade terrarium.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're sending messages into the tardigrade terrarium, which makes no sense.
Tardigrades are basically like microscopic badgers in little space suits.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They're like the perfect creature. You're almost unkillable. So once again, go to feedthebadger.com. feedthebadger.com/justthetip, and at any time you can send us if you want to support the show. If you want to send us more confusing stuff that we will puzzle over. Back to you, Brian.
All right. So if you guys like this video, please smash the like button. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Follow us over on Rumble and Twitter and other places, because we do go and stream to various places. So follow us over there. And leave us a comment. Let us know what you guys think about what we talked about. Tell us what your most difficult job was. And also, maybe you have like a little story or anecdote you'd like to share about a high maintenance partner that you dated. It doesn't matter if they're male or female, but maybe clarify, because I'd be curious if there are people who've had like difficulty with high maintenance men. What does that look like? And yeah, share that with us. And let's keep the discussion going. And most importantly, please share this video because sharing is caring. Yes,
Brian,
what?
I got a really quick answer to that. I think for the most part, high maintenance men are abusers.
High maintenance men are what?
Called abusers.
Yeah. Well, that's what we would. We don't just call them high maintenance. That's true. We would call them abusers.
When it comes down to it, like literally, this woman is giving herself license to use her partner, which is why I say that she should have a partner, or she should have creatures in her life that are almost unkillable.
That she can't kill.
Destroy. Just leave the humans alone, because that's what she's essentially saying. If we took the traits of a high maintenance woman and applied them to a man, we'd just call him an abuser.
Yep.
And we'd probably be accurate.
I think so. I mean, I think that there is a pretty good chance of that. So
he would be a financial abuser because he would be taking your money. He would be emotionally abusive. He might not, depending on what she expects men to tolerate in terms of physical abuse, he might also be physically abusive. But that's essentially what she's saying. And we have a cute term for a female abuser. We call them high maintenance instead of calling them what they are, abusers.
Yep. Interesting.
Yeah, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it is absolutely. So as I was saying, guys, share this video because sharing is caring. And I think that's good. Maybe instead of you personally having an experience with, a high maintenance partner, maybe someone who's in an abusive relationship like that, or you think that they probably should get out. Maybe you could tell us. We don't have to drop any names. I don't want to dox anybody, but you could mention your anecdote. Let's share the stories with each other, okay? All right. Thank you guys so much for coming on the show. And we'll talk to you guys in the next video. I'll see you on Monday. I have a fireside chat guest that I think is going to be it's going to be spicy. It's going to be spicy. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Yeah.
What is your most confusing Superchows and super chats?
Yes, please do.
Wrap them up. Get them ready.
Thanks, guys, for coming on the show, and we'll talk to you all in the next video.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.